Well, there is the T56 Magnum that's faceplated with the 297 first gear ratio. So if this is not in my car, there must be a pretty sweet other manual transmission in my car. But wait, there's my RXT 1200 twin disc clutch and my QuickTime bell housing. So if those aren't in my car, there must be a really gangster clutch setup and an even better bell housing. Well, unfortunately, that is true to some extent, but there is no longer a clutch in my car and there is no longer a manual transmission in my car. And today I'm going to go over our most controversial upgrade and why I went through with it. So before I do that, let's go on a journey of discovery.
To start this journey, we need to go back to 2017 when I built the car that you see before you here. 1992 Fox Body Coupe to LX, root beer color, loved it. We took everything from a 2003 Cobra, the engine, the transmission. We had a VMP Gen 3R on it. Man, this car was a ripper. I ran my first 10-second pass in this car and many 10-second passes from like there on out. Yeah, she was an absolute ripper. Then we were going to do a turbo LS swap, and I had a built turbo 400 from FTI and a Circle D converter, but I never got to use it because this car came along, which is the car you guys have come to know and love, my 1993 turbo Coyote coupe. We had a T56 Magnum put in it, and then we went to a faceplated T56, and the final product is the car that you guys know today. But unfortunately with stick shift racing, it is very inconsistent, and that now is coming to an end.
All right, what's up everybody? So behind me we got the Cobra, and today we are doing the biggest upgrade we've ever done. Now that's a lot to say because we put a 91mm turbo on this thing from Jeremy Howell's Flat Fox, and this thing rips now. But it's kind of a controversial upgrade. Some of you guys are gonna be mad. Some of you guys are gonna be like, oh, that's the right thing to do if you wanna go fast. Well, long story short, we're ditching the stick shift because we're trying to go fast, and we're trying to go fast consistently. So let me show you what I got going on here. All right, here is the new setup. Now this is a built Turbo 400. It's a billet case with a billet bell housing. This is the bell housing that allows the Turbo 400 to bolt to a Coyote or Ford modular pattern. We have a mid plate here because we're going to take advantage of this setup, and while we're putting this in, we're going to put a mid plate in, and that's going to help the torque on the motor and help keep everything lined up. I'll go a little bit into that in detail later. But this is not only is it a built Turbo 400, but it is a 3-speed Turbo 400, not a 4-speed. That being said, it's not going to be as street friendly, but it's also a different gear ratio, and I'll put that in the video here because I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Still learning this whole setup, but pretty wild. There's the SFI flex plate. We got the Hurst quarter stick shifter. Well, I don't think that's a quarter stick. I think that's a different Hurst, but either way, trans brake. I need to replace that, but that's a line pressure and temperature sensor. That is a converter pressure sensor. This is vents, which will go to an overflow because this thing will probably push some fluid. The strange yoke, which I have a strange yoke on mine, but the yoke that I have went to the guy. Oh, it's not strange, it's Sanix. Either way, same quality. External dump valve right here. And I have a trans cooler, and the converter is in the car. And this came out of a car that went deep sevens in the quarter. Twin turbo Coyote setup. His car is just going way faster than what he built it for, so he's going to a stick shift. I'm going to this. He took my clutch that I don't think I ever showed you guys, but I bought a Black Magic adjustable long style clutch. I never used it. I wound up giving him that clutch and giving him money for this setup, and he gave me everything from his car. I gave him some parts from my car as well as the money. That being said, we're in the middle of ripping the trans out of the Cobra right now, and I'm at the point where I just put the jack underneath it. I pulled the cross member. I'm getting ready to pull the transmission off the bell housing and pull it out for the very last time. So here's the transmission, a reminder, this is a T56 Magnum. It has like 200 miles on it, maybe 5 passes. Awesome transmission. I love it, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to take this thing to the next level. Once we pull it out, we'll pull off the QuickTime SFI bell housing, pull out the RXT twin disc clutch, which has been great. And then all that stuff is gonna be sold. We're gonna go ahead and get the transmission mounted tonight, take our measurement on the 4-post lift, because the Turbo 400 is like 3.5 inches shorter than the Magnum. So we're gonna have to lengthen the drive shaft, and once we get that in, we'll be able to drive the car. We'll have to do some wiring changes with the Holly, get the extra inputs and outputs module so we can have pressure and temperature readings of the transmission. We can have the dump valve and the trans brake engage, and we'll have to make some changes on the steering wheel buttons, but we'll get into that later. Let's pull this out and get the new transmission in. All right, so the transmission is in, albeit a little loose. So all the bell housing bolts are in. I do not have the mid plate in because we couldn't cut it. We didn't have a cutting wheel that worked right now. So I'm gonna have to come back and do that at a later time. But the starter's back in, bell housing's in. I got one torque converter like started, one torque converter bolt. And then this bolt back here is just in here temporarily because I didn't realize I needed like a ton of spacers for the mount to the cross member. So gonna have to come up with a solution for that. And that's it, yeah. I did get a loose dimension. It is definitely like 3.5–4 inches shorter for the drive shaft. So the drive shaft needs to be lengthened 3.5 to 4 inches. The old tail housing used to come like back here. So that being said, I'll get the drive shaft done. I'll get some bolts and I'll make some spacers for this, and then we'll get this thing wrapped up. I have a plate that Kyle's given me. It actually bolts to the factory shifter boot holes, and it's a plate that drops below the floor, so the shifter sits down here. You don't have to drill a hole for the cable to come through. The cable will come back around and it'll wrap and it'll meet this. Actually it comes forward, it comes back, and then it comes in from this way because the shifter cable bracket bolts right here. This is for the trans brake, so I'll have to do that. But yeah, I mean, overall it looks really good in here. I'm not gonna lie, I think I might have thrown up a little bit in my mouth once I put an automatic in here, but hey, that's all right. Hopefully it'll be worth it, and we'll get going fast here soon. So that's a huge update. You know, if you guys are not happy with this modification, I can't blame you. I struggled with it for a while, but again, it takes so much time and effort and money to get consistently fast with a stick car, and I just don't have a lot of time or a lot of money, and frankly, I'm out of patience. So the auto stuff should be a lot simpler. Not saying it's not hard, but once we get the suspension back here set up, switch back to radials, we should be able to go out and be pretty much immediately successful. So that's the goal. Hopefully we'll make it happen, and that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.